Let's go. Ooh, I'm feeling great tonight. LSU football fans, we've got a fun live stream ready to go. We are hot. We are fired up. Spring practice has continued. We learned today that was kind of funny. We learned today that Ed Orgeron likes to list his starters early and often. We say hi to Mr. G. We say hi to Ben. We say hi to Josh. Todd Harris starting at safety. Jay Ward starting at safety. We just posted a video about that very thing, and you can watch it after the live stream. But to me, those two guys, that's not the biggest news. It's that Cordell Flott is the starting nickel for now. And then, of course, you have Derrick Stingley at one corner, and then you have Elias Ricks at the other corner. But what I wanted to leave tonight's live stream off with, and I actually plan to lead this live stream with this information, is that I absolutely hate to hype up true freshmen. However, is Mason Smith already the best defensive lineman on LSU's roster? Like Ed Orgeron just said in a press conference that Mason Smith is the best pass rushing interior that they have right now. So that's very fascinating. And, the only position on defense we kind of don't know a whole lot about is the linebacker position, and we'll learn more as the weeks go by. But that is so interesting to me that the Mason Smith number 0, 5-star, Houma, Louisiana, which is some of the most diehard LSU football fans are in Houma. It's crazy that even up to this point, you've heard Ed Ingram talk about Mason Smith. You've heard all these people say Mason, 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 Mason. And that is just absolutely fantastic. But it's interesting that he's yet to even play a game yet. So it is going to be unbelievable watching this young man develop and potentially be a 3-year starter for LSU. So we'll see what happens there. And then obviously, this is something that I'm really passionate about, which is open debate, okay? And I find it a little interesting that we get so defensive over the quarterback discussion, right? So yesterday's video, we did a stock up, stock down from LSU spring practice. And I reiterated 1,000 times over that it is just spring practice, but based on quotes, based on what I've heard from scrimmages and practices and whatnot, the only player who I said his stock is down was Cordell Thomas because a guy that came in the same exact class as Cordell Thomas, Anthony Bradford, they were legit very similar on the depth chart last season. Backup offensive guards that weren't true freshmen but never really got a chance to play. So if Anthony Bradford's stock is up, then Cordell Thomas's stock is down, especially considering that both of them are offensive guards. We know Ed Ingram's going to start. Maybe Chasen Hines won't start. So we'll see. That is the only player. However, people get really defensive over the quarterback battle, right? I always say this. I don't like to criticize players. I don't. I want everyone to succeed. I want this team to be the greatest LSU football team of all time. I want to be better than 2019, even though that's not plausible. However, what I want to get to is TJ Finley, because so many people get so defensive when you say TJ Finley is number 3 on the depth chart. Okay, is he working with the 2s? What we know right now is that Max Johnson, according to Ed Orgeron, took the first snaps of spring. He was 2-0 as a starter. He doesn't turn the football over, and so on and so on. TJ Finley is working along with Jake Peetz, along with DJ Mangus, and of course, you have Garrett Nussmeier, who's now into the equation. Look, don't get too offended if anyone has anything to say about TJ Finley. the truth is that I have been more positive about TJ, whereas a lot of you are begging him to transfer. Some of you have said, I hope he transfers. I just go look at my comments. Well, he's transferring, and he's slow on his reads. When he was a true freshman starting behind an offensive line that legit could not block the better defensive lines that they faced. So we say out of Tony, Matt, Ben, Mr. G, Nick. What's up, baby? So look, it's not one of those things where it's a negative that TJ Finley is a number 3 guy. It's not. It's not a negative. It's, in fact, a positive that you have a number 3 SEC starter who has 2 SEC wins. So we'll see what happens. Tony, with our first donation. I appreciate that, Tony. I think Marcus is about to come in this thing too. I hope so. I'm going to put this up. There we go. And that's good. What do you think if Devonta Lee moved to linebacker? So it's interesting you say that, Tony. I don't know if you saw this morning, but this was also something we were going to get to today. Ed Orgeron went out of his way to mention that Devonta Lee is having a really good spring at wide receiver. Now, this was in his interview with T-Bob and Jacob Hester this morning, and he went out of his way. It wasn't as if he was asked specifically about Devonta Lee. He was asked about these skill position players, and in particular, Coy Moore. And obviously, Ed Orgeron's super high on Coy Moore. We've shared this before. He's one of the hardest workers on the team. He leads the wide receiver in offseason receptions. But he didn't mention Jeray Jenkins. He didn't mention Jontre Kirkland or Trey Palmer. He went out of his way to say Devonta Lee, who was a linebacker / tight end. Now he's at wide receiver, which is a position that LSU could use less depth instead of more. What you should hope, Tony, is that Devonta Lee can play that tight end position, which was a position he was labeled with last season. And I do think that was in part because the tight end room got hit by the pandemic. And because they got hit by the pandemic, they needed more numbers there because last season you needed a certain amount of players at each position group in order to actually play. So, Tony, I don't know if you heard that this morning, but Devonta Lee moving to linebacker, it's not out of the equation. We already saw one wide receiver today move to the defensive side of the ball because of playing time, and he moved to safety. And we say, thank you, Chase. He said, I can't stay tonight, unfortunately, but wanted to show some love. Jay Ward moved to free safety, and shout out to D. Lee. Enjoyed the stream, everyone. Thank you so much, Chase. We deeply appreciate that. So apparently it's a very busy Tuesday for a lot of you. Normally at this point we have like 70 or 80 people in the chat. I don't care if it's just 2 of us. It makes it more intimate. So we have 37 here. Go on ahead, hit the thumbs up button. Keep the super chats coming. Obviously, a lot of you are super high on Jay Ward, as you should be. You know, this is a 3-star out of Georgia who has certainly outperformed his ranking. At the end of last season, he was playing at an extremely high level. Of course, he had the pick 6 versus Ole Miss, which was huge. He had the block kick and all the plays against Arkansas, which was huge. Obviously, you want to see more consistency out of him. We'll see what happens. You know, obviously, you know, he had the miraculous play against Florida, and the list goes on and on. Like I said in my Jay Ward piece from earlier, and if you want to watch it, I'll link it. We released this video legit an hour before this live stream began. And once again, every day, 5:15 or 5:30, normally around 5:15, but sometimes 5:30, you'll see a new video every weekday, sometimes on Friday, if we're able to have time. So for those that want to know our schedule, legit, every day, 5:15 or 5:30, you're going to get a new video on this channel. And make sure you watch it. At the end of work, put up your boot, swipe your card, clock in, clock out, lunch pail. Just come check out. Come on, check our content out. What's up, Esteban? What's up, Mark? It's very interesting about Devonta Lee. Obviously, this is what's interesting. I feel as if there are some real authentic LSU fans that watch this channel because so many of you are cheering for Devonta Lee because you guys are like me. You like the LSU Tigers that came in with a lot of hype but have been buried on the depth chart, and they're just waiting their opportunity. A lot of you light up when I talk about Russell Gage or who's someone else. Darrell Williams is another guy who came in. Todd Harris is one of those guys who came in. They're a Tiger through and through. They don't care if they're backups. They want to stay with the LSU Tigers, and when they get their opportunity, you want them to shine. I get a lot of questions about Devonta Lee. This is good that Ed Orgeron obviously went out of his way. I do think, though, what you would like to see is clarity at wide receiver. The clarity that we have at defensive back right now, you would like to see that at all position groups, but in particular wide receiver, because this is something that Ed Orgeron has referenced. If he wants the 2019 offense to come back, the one thing you're going to have to do is shrink instead of expand. You got to shrink your personnel because obviously last season, you look at the target percentage of the players on LSU's roster was more spread out. I believe there was 9 players on LSU's team last season that averaged over a target per game, whereas on the 2019 team, I think that number was like 6 or 7, and they played more games. So it's a very fascinating thing. Let's see. Leonard says he just loves 3 stars. I do too. It's just one of those things. You always cheer for a 3-star, right? You guys know him. DJ Chark, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jacob Hester. That list goes on. Mo Claiborne. So, I cheer for 3 stars as well, because every 3-star is lucky to have an LSU offer. They just are. You're lucky because that's not the players that they're normally targeting in recruiting. So, when you get a 3-star, they are very lucky to be there, and they know it. So, like, for instance, you hope Jalen Sheed is a Foster Moreau because LSU's had so many tight ends that they brought in that don't ever do anything. They've literally missed on so many tight ends. So, you always cheer for the 3 stars. You really do. Nick wants to talk Jacoby Matthews every live stream. Look, there's nothing in the title. There is the word recruiting news. Obviously, we normally say recruiting for a little bit later. The most important thing, though, is you look at the targets that LSU has set out in front of them for the class of 2022. And we'll get back into recruiting later. But really quickly, the most important thing to know about 2022 recruiting is Jacoby Matthews is the most important target left on LSU's board. A 5-star safety in the state of Louisiana. You guys know about the safety depth, especially considering Todd Harris is going to be gone after next season. So Jacoby Matthews is about, I would say he is the number 1 recruit that LSU should be after. Emory Jones is obviously the guy that is the most likely to be the next high-level 4-star to commit to LSU. Hopefully that does happen. The offensive guard out of Catholic High. Now, I'm going to tease this, okay? I will share this because I do think LSU is doing something so wrong in recruiting. Let's see. Michael says Coy Moore is going to ball out this fall. I like that. Jalen Sheed will be a great blocker. I've seen him pancaking defensive ends. Let's go. Set the alerts and still miss the kickoff. That's okay, Jared. I'm going to work on getting a newsletter. I ran into issues with the first time when I was trying to get a newsletter out to you guys. I'm going to work on it again. I've been working with some different companies, and that way I can email you guys our weekly schedule. But the schedule always remains the same, okay? Every day at 5:15 and 5:30. 5:15 or 5:30. More often than not, it's 5:15. Every weekday 5, after 5, 5:15, 5:30, either one of those times, you're going to get a new video. Every live stream, Tuesday nights at 7 p.m., Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central. Okay? Sometimes we won't do them on Saturdays simply because, I'm doing comedy or DJing a wedding or whatever. But that's basically the schedule every single day. What about T-Bob? What about him? He's a friend. I think he's great. Hungry 3 stars always play a role in championship teams. Yeah, it's true, Donovan. You look at, look at the last team. You don't win the title without Clyde and Justin and Lloyd and those guys. It's weird, though, because you look at the blue chip ratio, which is the percentage of 4 and 5 stars on every roster. LSU's blue chip ratio on defense was so much higher than what it was on offense. Okay, if you really go down and break it down, LSU secondary obviously in 2019 was really good, but both their corners were 5 stars. One of their safeties was a 5-star, and the other one was a 4-star. Okay, their defensive line had a 5-star and a top 54-star. Their linebackers, one was a 5-star by Rivals, a high-level 4-star overall, and Patrick Queen, who, I think he was the lowest-rated recruit that started on that LSU defense, which, it's a crazy juxtaposition. Josh, thank you for that super chat. What's up, JJ? What's good? Carter and T-Bob live stream. Let's make it happen. Here's what I'll say about that. And a few of you say that. I don't talk to T-Bob as much as I used to. He's still a friend. Every time I see him, I give him a big old bear hug. We used to do a podcast together. He does so much crap. And he's got a family. I don't want to bother him. But you guys know how I feel about Jacob Hester, one of my favorite LSU fans of all time. He's also a fan of the EPL. Love what he does, and I love what T-Bob does. And, T-Bob is a closer friend than Jacob. I've only met Jacob on a few times, but they do great work. They really do. I hear Trey Palmer is coming along. If he flashes, he will become the X factor of our offense with this game-breaking speed. So, here's the thing about Trey Palmer, all right? I was really shocked. This is a guy, Kentwood, Louisiana, top 100 prospect. They tried to work him in last season. So, against Mississippi State, I don't know what the issue was, but he got into the game when LSU was in the red zone. And the snaps, when he got into the game, they threw him a screen, and he ran at like 50%. He was lollygagging. He wasn't even running. And he didn't play with any urgency. Then he got to play against Missouri, had a key drop. Here's the thing about Trey Palmer. You mentioned his speed, okay? Really fast guy. However, yards per catch is not that high. Yards per target is not that high. Okay, a lot of you would say, well, he's working the slot. All right. Well, if someone is playing the slot receiver position, you got to have reliable hands. All right. That's a move that changed position. That's such a key position, that Justin Jefferson role in the offense. Well, the problem is Trey Palmer led the team in drop percentage. So he had drops. Even though he is super fast, they don't run him on a whole lot of deep routes. So it's kind of weird. Look, his first couple of seasons, look who he was playing behind. 3 first-round draft picks. This last season was supposed to be his breakout season, but, Jure outperformed him. Obviously, tabula rasa, clean slate right here, okay? New assistant wide receiver coach, new passing game coordinator, new offensive coordinator. And Trey Palmer obviously has all the talent in the world. He is one of the best kickoff returners ever at LSU. He's really good at that thing. He probably should get a chance at returning punts. With all of that said, we don't know a whole lot about him personally. We don't know a whole lot about what actually goes on at practice and so on and so on. So I hope Trey Palmer breaks out. I hope he becomes the player that we all expected him to be. Stand up, Kentwood, Louisiana. Stronger than yesterday. That was a Britney Spears reference. I could have done hit me, baby, one more time, but still, I want Trey Palmer to succeed, but all these things need to get fixed. The start of the season was just so bad for him. So bad. I will say this about Trey Palmer, though. His Ole Miss game was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. That is what we need to see from him. Max Johnson missed him on a touchdown early in the game. He caught a pass later in the game. He did have a drop in that game, but still, it was better. It was, better. But here's the thing, and we tend to not think this way. I always bring this up. What is your brand? Okay, that's something you always hear marketers talk about. What's your brand? Well, what is LSU's brand? Well, our brand is defense and DBU, right? Well, not anymore. And even pre this offensive renaissance, you can make a strong case that LSU's strongest position has been wide receiver on any side of the football. And you look historically, a lot of wide receivers from the state of Louisiana. Here's the thing about wide receiver. In order for you to be effective, you've got to be able to catch the football. Okay, that is a non-negotiable. Okay, you can be slow. You don't have to run a 4.4 to be a great wide receiver. Jarvis Landry is arguably the greatest LSU wide receiver of the modern pre-Joe Brady era. He ran a 4.7. He wasn't fast. He's not game-breaking speed. But catching the football is a non-negotiable. And if you have a high drop percentage and you start the season running routes at half speed, well, something's got to give. So, look, I know this is a Trey Palmer channel, and I love the fact that he's stuck with this team for so long, despite being a backup to some of the greatest wide receivers to ever play in the SEC. Not at LSU, in the SEC. This is his time. You know what, Criminal Minded? I know you've been watching me for a while. I don't know if you've caught me saying this, but this is how I view the wide receiver room. And Esteban, thank you for your super chat. I want to go to what you just said right now, but let me say this one quick thing, all right? And this is so key, all right? I want everyone to listen to this. Tabula rasa, clean slate, everyone's coming in fresh, all right? What we do know, though, if there is one starter at the skill position, whether it be quarterback, wide receiver, or running back, or tight end, we do know for sure Keishawn Butte is going to start. However, I do believe Jeray Jenkins should be the solid number 2 wide receiver. Okay, and a few of you have heard me say this, but look, you go look at the advanced stats. Jeray Jenkins killed the advanced stats. He killed ADOT, which is average depth of target, okay? He killed yards per reception. He was really good in drop percentage. He was an overall reliable, good teammate, an overall decent blocker. And he started from day 1 to day 10 without getting injured, okay? Never took plays off, did the little things right. So, look, you know, if you were to say, well, based on the 10 games of film we saw last season with 3 different quarterbacks, Jeray Jenkins far outperformed Trey Palmer and in every way imaginable. So something radical would have to happen this spring for Trey Palmer to surpass Jeray Jenkins. So if Keishawn's going to be on the field all the time and you view Jeray as the solid number 2, then that number 3 is wide open. Well, if Coy Moore's outworking everyone, which according to Ed Orgeron, it sounds like he is, and Coy Moore is outperforming everyone, those are your 3 guys, okay? Now, how is that going to make sense moving forward? Well, it's hard. It's hard to make sense because we have people like Nick who say Deion Smith, and then we have people like JJ or Eric who says, well, I like Malik Neighbors, and I know JJ is a big fan of Brian Thomas Jr. He's mentioned that before. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And Paris makes a good point here. Coy Moore has been showing out this spring. When you outwork everyone and you are the starter at the end of the season, it is hard to supplant that player, okay? Coy Moore works harder than everyone on the team. I've been told this by a lot of people, and Ed Orgeron has confirmed this. There's a reputable media member, Julie Baldwin, who said Coy Moore is the hardest recruit that she's ever seen when it comes to work ethic, okay? If he continues to work and outwork everyone, he's going to start. So those are going to be your three guys. All right? So then, what about Devonta Lee? What about John Trey Kirkland? What about Trey Palmer? What about Chris Hilton? What about Deion Smith? What about Brian Thomas Jr.? There's all these different new guys. Jack Besh. Heck, Eddie Kennison might run out there. You don't know. He's back with LSU. So, there's only so many spots you can actually go. That's why someone like Alex Adams is doing the smart thing. Alex Adams says, look, I'm going to go play safety. Jonathan, what's good? Jonathan comes for a live stream for the first time in months, and he's like, where's Booger? As I always say, once we get to $50 in donations, we start getting in Booger territory. Nick, you really love Deion Smith. I love it. PLG, what's good? So we say hi. So Esteban, thank you so much. Once again, Esteban just cashed out. Esteban, you have been very generous to the channel lately. I really do appreciate that. Marcus, what's good? So let's go to Esteban's question. Now, there is a danger into doing this, okay? I've been doing content for audio, video, all these different things. Whenever I talk LSU, NFL, or NFL, LSU, anytime you talk about a player at the NFL level who used to play for LSU, it does nothing. People quit watching and all those things. So I won't spend too much time, but for those watching tomorrow, the Pro Day is tomorrow morning on the SEC Network, okay? It's a big deal for some former Tigers, okay? But essentially, what Google Analytics and this is with all platforms, what they tell me is you guys just aren't that interested in Pro Days. But Esteban did make a very good observation. LSU did a photo shoot earlier today. Now, granted, this is a photo shoot with a bunch of fancy cameras, high quality Sony A3, Sigma 18x35 lens with beautiful lighting. However, if you look at the photos, Tyler Shelvin and Jacoby Stevens both look trimmed down. They've been working out, obviously, a lot, getting ready to get this paycheck. Here's my thing about that, though, that I find really fascinating, is that, well, LSU's got some of the best workout facilities in the planet, on the planet Earth, period, anywhere. And each position group has their own private nutritionist. Like, when they are done working out, they get immediately a recovery shake when they're done. So what does that tell you? If a player is to get in game shape or whatever shape they need to be in, it is up to them. It is their personal responsibility to do it. Okay? But Esteban, you made a really good point. And Esteban, I hope you comment on this because I'm glad you mentioned this. You mentioned this a little bit earlier when you sent in the super chat. Esteban said, "Did you see Tyler Shelvin?" And I was like, "Really? Is that the same guy?" But that is so wild. You saw Eric Gilbert at Mike Anderson's today? Nice. What was he getting? Oysters? He did not. Jared is. Okay. Yeah, I am in the laundry room. So, as you guys know, after the ice storm, I got to move around to wherever the Wi-Fi is best. I am in the laundry room tonight. Let's see. Marcus says, everyone welcome Marcus back to the live chat. Marcus, I know you've been busy, man, with all your business endeavors. Yeah, so the dryer, how many more? Is it that distracting? Is it too much, G. Lou? The dryer? I will turn it off. Then I'll just be wearing wet clothes. Marcus is on the road eating dinner and listening to y'all. Okay, let's see. Thomas, so I led the live stream with it briefly. Look, why have many of the prognosticators written off TJ Finley? Or do you think Max Johnson would have performed the way TJ did? No, okay. LSU recruiting in South Florida. Okay, so I do want to include this. One of my really good friends' kids got offered by LSU today, and that would be my dream. And I say really good friend. He was a teammate of mine. So if that kid goes to LSU, I'm going to go nuts. TJ and Myles have slow feet, bottom line. Johnson creates the best option. Off topic. No, it's not off topic. Anytime you talk TJ Finley, it's on topic. I like TJ a lot. You know, at a Ponchatoula, obviously the game-winning drive against Arkansas and the great performance against South Carolina. Is it true? Okay. All these things can be true. Okay. So many people make quarterbacks. It's pass or fail at quarterback when it's not. Okay. Just look at the NFL. A lot of it is your environment. So much of it is your environment. Okay. So, look, TJ Finley played the tougher defenses on LSU's schedule. Yes, there's no question, okay? Auburn, Alabama, and Texas A&M were far tougher defenses than any defense that Myles or Max played. Now, Florida has a talented defense, but with a bad defensive coordinator. And they were obviously very undisciplined in that game, and they weren't focused to win that game. They were looking ahead or whatever. The bottom line, though, is when you factor all of that in, who made the back-breaking turnovers? Okay, well, Myles didn't. Max didn't. TJ did. Once again, he is a true freshman, and true freshmen make those types of mistakes. Okay? He made those back-breaking turnovers. Those are non-negotiables. I don't care if you're playing the New England Patriots. You can't make back-breaking turnovers. Like against Auburn, he made 2 that resulted directly in touchdowns. Okay? Can't do it. It's just something you can't do. All right? The Alabama game, he was behind the 8 ball the whole time because, you know, the defense was horrible. So I don't put any blame on him there too much. The Texas A&M game was really bad. However, with that said, that was the worst game. All right? To the point where I did an hour-and-a-half long film study. That was the worst game an LSU offensive line has ever played. Ever played. Ever played. To the point where I had a former LSU offensive lineman, and it's not T-Bob, a former LSU offensive lineman reached out to me and said, that was the worst. That was the worst. And he said, I've had some bad games. I've never seen an offensive line play that bad. Okay? Just the truth. It was back-to-back road games, which can be hard on your legs. This was said about the offensive line. A lot of them weren't in game shape, especially to play back-to-back road games, which is so hard on a college player's body because it's something you don't really do a whole lot. So, yeah, was TJ bad against Texas A&M? Yes. Did he throw behind his receivers? Yes. Did he miss a few open throws? Yes. But he also had 2 unlucky things. Number 1, the offensive line wasn't great. Number 2, he had the Kayshon Boutte touchdown taken away. I thought it was a catch. And remove all bias aside, I think most of you would agree, Kayshon got robbed of the catch. Okay? He had that happen. All right? Threw behind receivers, special teams mistakes, so on and so on and so on. With that said, you know, pick 6. Can't do it. You just can't do it. Pick 6s results in losses 99.9% of the time. So, yes, Bo, thank you for the super chat. Obviously, you want to talk quarterbacks. TJ is a very promising guy. He could be a starter at the SEC level. I don't think anyone would disagree with that, okay? But you can only play one quarterback, all right? What the building thinks right now is Max Johnson because he is run with the ones. Ed ORGERON has seen that. Okay, that's what we know. I'm telling you what the analytics community, go look at the college football nerds, go look at SEC StatCat, so on and so on. The analytics community strongly backs Myles Brennan. Strongly, okay? Why? yards per throw, air yards, all those things, ADOT, whatever you want to talk about. And it's true. Okay, Max Johnson doesn't have the arm that Myles, Brennan, or TJ Finley has. Okay, that is evidenced by how LSU called plays. They didn't call their most popular play for verticals as often as they did with Max Johnson as they did with Myles Brennan. So, look, it's a complex thing, obviously. The one wild card in all this, though, is that who does Jake Peetz think is the best quarterback? And honestly, I don't think he's ready to answer that question. He might have a preconceived notion as to who the best quarterback is. It is interesting because if you do pick one, all three of them have glaring weaknesses, but really good strengths, okay? So that's another complexity. And something that Jake Peetz wanted to figure out, and you can see this by some of the footage that they've released from practice, what LSU's been working on is throwing the football out of the backfield to their running back. Ed Orgeron has hinted at this in interviews, and he came out and said in the morning he's just flat out disappointed in the running backs room because of all the injuries. So the problem that LSU has right now is everything is just scattered. It's so scattered right now on offense. What I think LSU needs to do, though, is quickly make a decision over which way their quarterbacks decide to go. And Marcus, goodness gracious, Marcus, you had to do it. Obviously, I'm hoping that you would do it. But I had a feeling you were going to do that. Thank you so much, Marcus. This is normal behavior from you. I really do appreciate that. Everyone, a round of applause for Marcus. Thank you so much for your super chat. Thank you, Marcus. As we do our live stream in the laundry room. Dang, Marcus. Exactly, Jared. I always get a little tingly inside whenever you get a 100. So that's huge. And I always say this when Marcus does this. I know what he knows how much work I put into this. I've shared, not with Marcus, but with some of you, my thought process behind some of the videos. And man, I just stay up late and watch LSU football all the time. That's all I do. This is just my life. And thank you. And thank all of you for watching all our videos, because the only way that we could keep this going is if you keep watching and you watch the live streams and you donate and all those cool things. So thank you so much, Marcus. I really do appreciate that. And I'll tell you this. Hey, and Boog appreciate that. And they're obviously the most important thing to me. Let's see. Johnny, what's good? Trey, what's up, Trey? Trey, where have you been? Marcus owed him $100. Yes, Marcus owed me $100 because he bet USC was going to beat Gonzaga by 15. He told me that in a text message. Trey, thank you. And Trey sent in a super chat. I appreciate you, man. So thank you, Trey. I appreciate that. Johnny said he's watching with his girl. That's good, man. Are you watching with your girlfriend? Are you watching with your daughter? I know Trey watches with his daughter. We have a lot of you that watch our live streams with their kids. So I just want to say this. Keep the language clean because I don't want anyone to turn this off. Been MIA the past few days. I understand. Quan says, do you think the quarterback competition should continue past the spring? That's a really good question, Quan. I would say, the sooner the better to know who your quarterback is. And, the reason why I say that is because this is something LSU has not had to deal with in quite some time. Even when Joe Burrow transferred over, it was pretty quickly evident that he was going to be the starter before 2018. right? So, this is the first time that LSU's really had quarterback conflict. Because before 2018, we knew Joe was going to be the guy. Before 2019, we knew Joe was going to be the guy. And before 2020, we knew Myles was going to be the guy. So, that's cool, Johnny. Well, tell your girlfriend I say hello. Jared says I watch for my wife and kids to watch. I hide for my wife and kids to watch. There you go, Jared. I'm glad this channel could be an escape for you, man. That's good stuff, man. So obviously, Marcus, this is your super chat. Wait, hold on. Let me see what you just sent me. No, Marcus did what? Okay, I'm not going to say that. Wait, you really did that? Okay, I'm not going to. Hey, you're looking good right now. Nothing ever surprises me with Marcus anymore. I love it. I love it. I love that, man. Hey, can I say one quick college basketball thing? Well, two quick things. I did have Oregon State +8 last night, and that final three, I needed it. It was like a $20 bet. But did y'all see LSU? Their Cam Thomas and all those guys are going to go to the NBA. Best of luck to them. You guys send me a lot of LSU baseball questions, and we'll get back to LSU football in just a second. I try to care. I try to keep it with LSU baseball. It's just not me. So you'll never hear me talk about LSU baseball unless I'm actually watching the games or watching them at the College World Series. I just don't care. I don't have an opinion on I just don't watch. Okay, would you rather me just share an opinion on something that I have no idea talking about? Like, I could talk more about, completely different sports than LSU baseball. So I know a lot of you send me questions about that. I know most LSU channels cover all the sports. I just talk LSU football. Occasionally some LSU basketball, occasionally some LSU gymnastics, but still, this is 99.9% football. And I just wanted to share that because I didn't want you guys to think I was ignoring some of your Paul Manieri questions. Yes, I got his bobblehead in the other room. I'm not a super Paul Manieri fan. It's just one of those things. Ironically, I was friends with Anthony Renato and Micah Gibbs on that 2019 championship team. I saw Mason Katz after the national championship game. I just don't know anything. I just don't. And like Nick says, I just can't. And one more thing about baseball. One more thing, okay? I was a huge baseball fan. I played AAU baseball. All those things, all right? I grew up a huge Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera fan, okay? I dreamed to be Mariano Rivera and Derek Jeter. They're my two biggest – dude, they meant the world to me. They were larger than life. And then when both of them retired, I cared nothing about the Yankees, okay? Nothing, all right? Now, I'm happy DJ LeMahieu is like a star for the Yankees, which is cool, LSU. I just can't care. I wish, like it was – have you ever had something in sports like that happen to you where something happened and you just – like I just could not care. I could not care anymore about baseball. I don't know what happened. I kind of got burnt out from playing baseball, but I wasn't that good. It was just one of those things. And, when Jeter and Rivera retired, I just said, I'm not even a Yankees fan anymore. I'm not even going to front about it. Christian! Christian, thank you so much. That is a very generous donation, Christian, via Venmo. So, we had 3 big donations here. We have one from Trey, one from Christian via Venmo and Cash App and all that good stuff. Esteban hooked us up on Cash App a little bit earlier. And Marcus hit us up with Super Chat. Blanche says, why doesn't T-Bob have you on as a guest? Well, I would do it, but he's super busy. I mean, I get so many T-Bob questions. Okay, let me say this about T-Bob. Love the guy to death. Legit. I think he's the most talented LSU media member. I really do think so. And I've told him this. We used to do a podcast together. He's unbelievable personality, authentic passion about the Pelicans. I'm a huge Pelicans fan. I don't talk about it on here because I just focus on LSU football. Jacob Hester, even though he's an Everton fan, I'm a Liverpool fan. Love their show. Love what they do. If they want to have me on as a guest, I'd love to come on as a guest. But, dude, they have their own empire. I got my own thing. So, since you super chatted the question, Blanche, I wish T-Bob nothing but the best. Wait, Carter, you were a bandwagon. That's fine. We don't need you. We can go to the playoffs and lose without you. Wait, are you saying a bandwagon Yankees fan? Oh, yeah, Kane. You're a Yankees fan. Christian, you just got that. I just got your donation. Whatever topic you want to talk about, Christian, it is your floor. So Christian and Trey and Marcus, whatever topic you want to talk LSU football, Marcus said just keep the discussion going. I'm going to keep it going. So Christian, whatever you want to talk about, we'll get to whatever you want to talk about. So, look, I want to share this as well. This was so fascinating to me. All right. I look at the depth chart and I ask myself, who are the real difference makers on the team? In other words, there is a stat in baseball called wins above replacement, right? It's a stat called WAR, all right? And what that stat tells you is how good are you compared to a replacement level player, okay? And WAR doesn't really exist in football. Now, there's different analytical versions of WAR, more so in the NFL, okay? And I want to ask this question to you. How many players on LSU's current team are unreplaceable, okay? How many players are unreplaceable? For me, as far as pure talent is concerned, there are 3 starters who are unreplaceable. 3. Kayshon Boutte, Elias Ricks, Derrick Stingley, okay? Those 3 guys are so good, all right? Now, if for some reason they got injured and couldn't play next season or whatever, it's just a hypothetical, knock on wood, whatever, LSU would still be fine. No one player makes a team. I've always said that. But those 3 guys are on the next level. So this is what's really fascinating about football. And I tend to think coaches don't think this way. There are so many replacement players, all right? There's so many backups that are very talented football players. The only way you can legitimately know if a player is good or not is by playing them. That is the only way, okay? We don't know. Carver's in here tonight, but we don't know if Philip Webb is really good or not. Obviously, we're not at practice, but, Philip Webb is a defensive end. And you can argue that you can't really evaluate a defensive end in practice, can you? If you can't hit the quarterback, how do we know if he's any good? So, yes, LSU does return a lot of really good players on both lines of scrimmage. But I'm going to share what I started our last live stream with. I said, if you stink, you deserve to be benched. All right? So, what did we learn this week? 2 players that continuously struggled from game to game. The 2 players that really struggled for LSU last season were Cordell Flott and Chasen Hines. Ed Orgeron has said in the last 2 weeks that those two guys still have their starters role for now. Okay, he said today that Cordell Flott will be the starter at the nickel. And, Chasen Hines is getting some push. He is the one offensive lineman outside of Dare Rosenthal who has not made a media appearance. So I'll let you know that Liam Shanahan at center and Ed Ingram at left guard look to be pretty solid. And Austin Deculus is going to start somewhere. My thing is, if anyone struggles, outside of Elias Ricks, outside of Derrick Stingley, outside of Keishon Butte, because those guys are so good that they will not struggle. If anyone else on the team is not making plays, I want to see the LSU coaching staff be more willing to put in backups. So I hope we get that. Now, let's see what some of you guys said here. Dare, Ingram, Shanahan, Bradford, Deculus. That is a good front. You know what, Bruce? I would be happy with that front. I really would. Cam Wire at right guard is something that I wouldn't be opposed to either. So we go to Christian here. Which freshman are you most excited about that isn't here yet? So we'll get to that question first. Debbie, what's good? Let's go to Esteban first because Esteban super chatted a little bit earlier. And Christian, we will get to your question in just a second. The only problem I had with Stingley last season was he just quit on a lot of plays, but fans gave him the benefit of the doubt. Flott is good. He just had a bad season, but the kid hustled. Flott chased down a lot of plays from behind, which is true. I'll take the effort over the talent when they feel like they don't have to try as much due to their name. Okay. So, Esteban, you're getting into some tough territory here with Derrick Stingley Jr. because, you can argue Derrick Stingley is the most popular player on the team, a 5-star recruit out of Baton Rouge. His dad makes weekly media appearances, and, he's just a guy that you could just fall in love with. He's got, the biceps the size of Montana. He was one of the best true freshman defensive backs ever the sport has ever seen. Look, did Derrick Stingley Jr. deserve to be all SEC last season? No, that was Travis Shema mockery of the award, all right? It should have been Elias Ricks, okay? He was first-team All-SEC, or first-team All-Rookie, but he should have been, or All-Freshman, he should have been All-SEC. So, look, Derrick Stingley needs to have a bounce-back season because I don't think the NFL sees him as a bona fide first-round pick. I would be alarmed based on Derrick Stingley's performances against Alabama alone. I would stay away from him if I was going to use a first-round pick on Derrick Stingley Jr. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what mocks are going to say about him after this draft class is over with. But does Derrick Stingley Jr. deserve more, I guess you could say, blame for what happened last season? Yes and no. And a lot of you would disagree, but look, we really needed Derrick Stingley Jr. to be available, okay? Your best ability is availability, okay? Part of his problem last season, and Christian, I promise you we're going to get to your freshman question because that is a question I want to talk about. But I do want to address this Derrick Stingley Jr. thing. And here's what I want you to do. I want everyone to, before we answer this, I want everyone to come up in their mind and answer to Christian's question. Who is the one freshman who's not here yet that's going to make the biggest impact next season? We will get to that in just a second. But I want to finish this Derrick Stingley thought real quickly. The first thing is I hope the offense thing doesn't happen. We need him focused on cornerback, especially considering his injury history was so bad last season. But part of your ability as a player is your availability, okay? Yes, was Derrick Stingley Jr. banged up last season? Absolutely. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, okay? However, the Mississippi State thing was so bad. And, it wasn't his fault. He was hospitalized for something. It wasn't pandemic related. But that happened less than 24 hours before the game actually began, okay? Your most important player on the defense before the game began, wasn't available. All right. And then, you look at some of the other games. His performance against Alabama was not great. He wasn't guarding Devonta Smith on a few of his touchdowns. The final touchdown was just an incredible catch. But there was a 3rd and 5 where he gave him 12 yards of cushion and didn't tackle him. So he had a dominant performance against Texas A&M. Didn't play against Florida or Ole Miss. He's going to have a bounce-back season if he's going to be a first-round pick. Now, is he sublime? Absolutely. Absolutely a sublime talent. And I hope he's healthy next season so we can see what we saw in 2019. But, how has he performed against the best? Well, against Clemson, he was beyond phenomenal and transcendent. One of the best performances you'll ever see. Against Auburn, caught one of the most important interceptions in LSU history. We probably don't win if he doesn't play as well as he did against Auburn. Now, he did have a fumbled punt, but outside of that, he was extraordinary. So we'll see. We'll see if he bounces back next season. I'm obviously a big Derrick Stingley Jr. fan, but this is something else. And telling you, I've been lucky to sit in press boxes with a lot of NFL scouts, okay? The way it used to be. I haven't been in a press box in 2 or 3 years now. I would always be on the back row of the press box, and I would always be sitting next to scouts. And one thing that they say is scouts look at how a player is off the field. And they look at things like, is the player a captain? Do people consider a player a leader? Well, Derrick Stingley Jr., based on the Leadership Council dinner. Now, once again, we don't have a Leadership Council ledger. We don't know who's on the Leadership Council. But Derrick Stingley Jr. was not at the Leadership Council dinner. Okay? I've always said this. The best players, when your best players are also your leaders, the better your team is going to be. That's not something that I came up with. This is from NFL scouts. This is from actual players who play the game. They always say that. Are your best players the best leaders? Go look at the grand old history of time and go look at the greatest athletes who ever played. How many of them were passive leaders? Okay? Just go through it. Just go through your mind. Well, Kobe, Jordan, LeBron, Bird, Magic, all unbelievable leaders. The NFL, Brady, Breeze, Manning. Try to think of some defensive guys. Charles Woodson, whoever. Great leaders. Go look at LSU. As you're mentioning T-Bob. T-Bob's told me this plenty of times. The greatest football player and the greatest leader he's ever been around, okay, was Tyrann Mathieu. Plays defensive back. He said not just the best football player. Okay, think about all the great players that T-Bob played with. Not just the best football player, the greatest leader. The greatest leader. Okay? So, yeah, injuries are obviously a very personal thing. Okay? Injuries are a very personal thing. But in the grand scheme of things, it's either you're there or you're not. Okay? And if you're not there more often than not, then you obviously can't help. And something else about Stingley's injuries is they would either happen right before the game or he would practice all the way up, and then right before the game or during the game he would get injured. Okay? And the reason why that kind of stinks is because, it's kind of hard to adjust your game plan during the game. Okay? Now, let's read through some of your Stingley comments. Stingley will not play. Yeah, I agree, Blanche. You see, and Esteban, I agree. I don't think Esteban is criticizing Sting too much. I just think he's saying, it's very interesting. Bruce says corners are rarely leaders. They play on the edge alone. They're often quiet or flamboyant. That's kind of true. You look at guys like Darrelle Revis, Stephon Gilmore. That's true, but then I'll tell you this. You guys know how I feel about Patrick Peterson. Think about what Patrick Peterson did for the program. Think about how he led. Let's see. All right. Matthew Langlois is not on campus yet, which kind of stinks. I don't think anyone was trying to be rude. Let's see. So let's go to Christian's comment. Christian, let me know if you're still there, man, because I wanted to get to Esteban's super chat question about Sting. Christian, let me know. Regardless, Matthias, I'll get to your question in a second. Let me get to the super chats first. So let's go to Christian's question. Okay. All right. So Christian's still here. I wanted to make sure you were there. So what I want to do, all right, and I want each and every one of you to think of one name. Now, don't think of the 9 early enrollees that are at LSU right now. So this doesn't include Mason Smith, Xavier Carter, Derek Davis Jr., Landon Jackson, Peyton Todd. Who are the other 4? Let's see. Bug Strong. I can't think of the other early enrollees right now. Deion Smith and a few others. So don't include the 9 early enrollees, all right? But of the players that are not early enrolled right now, okay, let me know in the comment section right now who you think will be the biggest freshman contributor to next year's team, okay? Johnny says Joe Evans, even though he's not a true freshman, Ed Orgeron has been talking a lot about Joseph Evans. Ben says Corey Kiner. That's a good one right there. AMAC says Sage. Tyler says Sage. I'll give you a quick ranking here. Christian says Besh. I like that. Goodwin, Besh, Goodwin, Kiner, Goodwin. Let's see. Kiner. Guys, we're having salmon tonight. I'm fired up. Salmon night 2. Alex says, I want Jaquelin Roy to be good. I hope so. You know, I went through Christian, I like the end of that comment on my Venmo. I appreciate that. That's my kind of dude right there. All right. Oh, Nick says Mr. Ohio. Nick, this is not a Joe Burrow chat. Trey, it is kind of weird that – okay, King Mo, the question is who is your outside of the early enrolled freshman, who are you most excited about? Leonard's a Corey Kiner guy. I like that. So, you want to know, my answer is actually Bryce Langston, considering how much Coach Orgeron loves him some Bryce Langston. Alex, you just sent in a super chat as well. I appreciate you. Let's get to your. Okay, Alex, I'll get to Alex's question is which running back will get the most carries next season? That's a feisty one. King Mo says good one. So Bryce Langston to me is my number 1, considering how much Orgeron has mentioned. You know, okay. In order of importance for next season, okay, it can't be a wide receiver because LSU's got plenty of wide receivers, right? So I know a lot of you are saying Bash and those guys. By far, Sage Ryan is going to be under the most pressure. And out of any of them, Sage Ryan plays the most difficult position, considering on short notice, he's going to have to figure out how to play safety and the nickel. Okay, I think they're going to ask him to play both, which is extremely difficult to do considering, Sage Ryan played at LCA, which, is a very competitive division. They beat Archbishop. They beat Newman to win the state championship or to get to the state championship. But Sage was actually hurt. So it's been a while since he's actually played a live game. So, look, he's a hardworking kid. Obviously, he's got great genetics in his family. He's a legacy. So he's going to have to come in and learn this playbook immediately. FireJamesCraig.com. So we'll see. I'm going to give James Craig one more year. Okay. Bryce Langston is not on campus. King Ulysses in Denver. What's good? Dwayne, what's good? Booger has not made an appearance yet, Debbie. We're going to work on that. Yeah, as you guys know, Boog is old, so it's kind of hard to get her up. And she's been going to bed early lately. I hope everything's okay. We'll see. She's got a big appointment in the morning. I wish I was lying about that, but we have to reschedule one because she has been sleeping weird lately. We'll get Bug here in about 5 minutes, okay? So I'm going to give you my answer. I think Sage Ryan. I know he's a 5-star, and that's an easy answer. But I just think he's going to have to play. I really do. Simply because defensive backs get hurt. And that's not a deep position. And he's a 5-star. So, yeah, he's going to play a lot. I do. I do think so. More, he might play some special teams early, but then slowly work them in. I would like to think in a perfect world that they're not going to need him. I would like to think in a perfect world that Cordell Flott is Kerry Vincent good, and then, the Jay Ward thing works out, and Todd Harris has a season. But, Jay Ward and Todd Harris have injury history. So, I don't wish injury on them. That's not what I'm saying. But, the likelihood that a defensive back is going to get hurt is kind of high. So, Sage Ryan is very, 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 very important. Okay. I know a lot of you said Armani Goodwin and Corey Kiner. Look, this is something that LSU, that Jacob Hester asked Ed Orgeron directly today. We want a running back that can do it all. That's why, you see Jake Peetz in the practice footage that is released. He wants to figure out if there is a guy on the team that can take care of everything. And what's kind of sucky right now is he can't tell that because Kevontre Bradford and Ty Davis Price both get injured early in spring, and they don't want John Emery to practice with the shoulder. Ed Orgeron said he's going to scrimmage on Thursday, and he said the main reason is to see what he can see out of John Emery. There might be some other reasons, but he said that in the interview today. So, look, that's going to be a very difficult position because, it's hard to find a running back that can do everything at an extremely high level like Clyde. Like, the really amazing thing about Clyde is not only was he a decent pass protector, he could make long runs even if the run blocking wasn't all that great. He was really good at catching the football. He had extremely fast and quick football IQ. He processed information well, made a lot of tacklers miss, lots of broken tackle percentages, and all those things. Is John Emery all of that? Is Ty Davis Price all of that? Well, the answer to that is probably not. There's some things that those guys do well. There's some things that they don't do well. So, what if Corey Kiner's at? What if Armani Goodwin's at? Well, will they be that right now when they come in? I don't know. So, look, as far as Bryce Langston is concerned, there are some academics, and I've heard this reference a few times. Once again, I hate to discuss a player's academic standing. I really do, because that's a very personal thing, and labels are put on kids, and that sucks. Okay, but there are some credible people who have said that academics are a thing that you have to worry about here. With Bryce Langston, hopefully that gets cleared up, and hopefully he's ready to go, because Ed Orgeron said Bryce Langston is arguably the best defensive lineman he's ever recruited. He said that in an interview. Ed Orgeron has said a lot of things in interviews. So it's very fascinating. Jawan, that's a great question. You throw into Jamar, Terrace, and Racy, hopefully Joe Burrow. No, I would – I don't know. Who. That is a good question. Maybe Matt Flynn? Team Ulysses says the flight situation of being a starter is very questionable. Ed Orgeron said he's a starter. Here's something to keep in mind is, Sage Ryan is really good, and he's really good enough to play that position. Now, can he play slot corner year one? That position sucks. It really does suck. Look, Mo Funky, I think you brought this up before. The hard thing about slot corner is there's so many things you have to be able to do well, especially if you want that player to play a lot of man coverage in that position. You think it's Myles Brennan? Yeah, I would say Myles, probably, maybe. We are working on getting Bug here. It's going to be a brief appearance tonight, just to let y'all know. Mr. MVPS, I am great. That is such a great question. How am I? I am fine. But Cliff says fireJamesCraig.com. I give him this year and then determine where you're going to go. What we do know, though, is Jeff Grimes is really good. He was really good. He's still at BYU. And I understand Jeff Grimes had Zach Wilson, but look at some of the BYU offensive linemen that are about to get drafted. And if you ask them how Jeff Grimes is as coach, they'll let you know. Dwayne says, who knows who's ahead this far in the QB position? Well, Dwayne, let me know. Dwayne, you're the quarterback expert here. Yeah, those tutors. You're right, Branson. LSU's got some of the best freaking tutors. I knew some of them when I was in school. Condolences and her dog and her. Oh, I thought you said her dogs at first. I almost got super sad. Yeah, Arkansas losing sucks. You know what kind of sucks is Baylor's. Two of Baylor's key players are from Louisiana, which is kind of weird. One's from reserve and the other Vital. I don't remember. So it's weird. Two of Baylor's top 5 players are from Louisiana, and Houston's best player is from McDonough 35 high school in New Orleans. So it's kind of weird, right? All the lead talk at receiver is encouraging. Yeah, I guess so. Wasn't Greg Penn supposed to be a freak? Oh, we don't know yet. We need to see if he can. We need to. He needs to get on campus first. No, I think Tommy Moffitt is pretty well respected. I mean, heck, Ole Miss has a strength coach, Tommy Moffitt. Baylor's strength coach, Tommy Moffitt. Georgia's strength coach, former Alabama strength coach, is a Tommy Moffitt. So, he's the one that launched all those programs in essence. I'm a big Moffitt guy. I know everybody's strength coach is great, but he's good. He's good. I mean, look. When the MIT kids were trying to pitch their new perch technology, they approached Tommy Moffitt and Marucci first. So, he is the standard. Cliff didn't even tell me you got a new job, and he's my cousin. I'm happy you got the job, Cliff. I just learned that. I'm actually really happy for you. Matt Canada is the OC for the Steelers now. Okay. I mean, he's a good coach. It wasn't a good fit at LSU, but that doesn't mean he's a bad coach. Yeah, I mean, look, he went to Maryland, did a pretty decent job in Maryland. I mean, he didn't work and he moved on. Langlois, linebacker, Besha T.E. We'll see. I'll have to learn quick. He sent O lineman in motion. Okay. And ran jet sweeps every other play. Yeah, he did do that a lot. It was almost too much with Russell Gage had like 25, 30 carries, somewhere around there. So, look, pre-snap motion is like basic. It was a basic tenet of the Alabama offense last season. So, pre-snap motion is a big deal now. I'd rather a coach who does it compared to one that doesn't do it at all. Well, they had no other option at quarterback other than Denny Hamlin. However, I was going to do a video on this, but I don't know how it's going to fit because when I do two outside of a box video, they don't do too well. But what's interesting? Now that we've seen Russell Gage throw a few passes in the NFL, they weren't just good passes. They were deep passes and on the money. So I wonder in a weird sense, why didn't LSU ever try Russell Gage at quarterback? When Brandon Harris was your quarterback, when, you had to go to a Purdue transfer, Danny Etling, who was good but not great. I would have loved to have seen Russell Gage potentially as a college quarterback. Go look at the throws, and yes, they're trick plays. He's not reading a defense or anything like that. But Brandon Harris and Anthony Jennings couldn't definitely do that. Russell Gage has a cannon. He has a freaking cannon. The kid from Zachary, he's a good story, Lindsey Scott, but, Lowell Narcisse is obviously a really good quarterback. Before he got injured at UTSA, he was doing really well. It's a big what if. I think Russell Gage, look at all these great. Now, I don't know what position Russell Gage actually played at Redemptorist, so I don't know off the top of my head. But look at all these great college quarterbacks that turned out to be great wide receivers at the NFL level. And obviously Russell Gage is a really good NFL wide receiver. Russell Gage at quarterback at LSU would not have been as far-fetched as, people make it out to be. Now, obviously if you have Joe Burrow, you don't need that. But at the time when he was playing, Brandon Harris and Danny Etling were our best options. Which obviously isn't a good thing. And, another thing about Brandon Harris is obviously he's super smart. For Sean McVay to go after Brandon Harris, that just kind of came out of nowhere. And, Sean McVay's like one of the smartest guys. the smarts weren't really the problem with Brandon Harris. It was just everything else. And remember, that was when Les Miles was rancid. He was a toxic waste off the field, but also on the field. I mean, think about how unprepared we were for both of those neutral site Wisconsin games. We should have lost that first one to Melvin Gordon, and then that second one was I would have rather drank my own vomit than watch that game again. It was so bad. And the only thing I remember is Josh Butte almost murdered somebody at the end of the game. And that's the thing. It was such a weird event. Yeah, that Houston trip was wild. People thought Lowell was the next Cam. Yeah, that was it. Lowell was really hyped. Part of me wishes I could have seen Lowell at LSU, but, you got that Burrow guy. You're right. Russell Shepard was a 5-star. All right, guys. Before we continue, someone wanted to come say hi.
I got her. Hey, everybody.
Everybody say hi to a booger. Everybody say hi to a booger.
She was listening to her mama talk on the phone.
Say hi to a big.
She always looks so tired.
Does she's got a big appointment tomorrow. Look, Marcus, we've gotten some hookups.
Wow.
Best QB besides Burrow was Mettenberger. Everyone else was mediocre.
Mama, baby.
Yes and no. It's okay.
Look at her. She looks like she's about to fall out.
Debbie was just waiting. Debbie's asked multiple times, have I missed Booger?
No, she's here. She looks like a sloth. She is a little sloth.
So it's like
Oh, goodness, Mama.
All right, I want to say about a Booger.
She wants some rubbings.
Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness gracious. Look at how spoiled she is.
She's so rotten.
Rotten as a rotten bug, the real MVP. Lucky we're in a very good spot at quarterback for now in the future from what it looks
like. Hey,
Uncle
Cliff.
That's true. Did y'all see this? Okay, this is a deep cut. All right, and it's in the title.
She's
Eli Holstein. Eli Holstein was the number 1 rated dual threat quarterback for the class of 2023 per Rivals. Did you guys see that? Did you guys see that? Eli Holstein, number 1 dual threat quarterback for the class of 2023. So all this Arch Manning talk, you got that. You got Richie Collins. You got a great class. Louisiana, the quarterback factory now. Sleep well and have a great appointment tomorrow, bud.
Oh, her will.
She's going to have a great appointment.
Yeah, her will.
So our vet is actually an LSU, diehard LSU fan.
Oh, he went to LSU vet school.
I went to LSU vet school. Let's see. Just chilling and hanging. All right, y'all tell Bud good night. She's ready to go night-night. I would say good night. We got
2028. That's all I'll say. Here, hold her for a second, babe. Mama knew. She's so rotten. Y'all just don't even know. Y'all don't even know how rotten she is.
See, look at that. She gets all.
She likes to get tucked under your chin.
HIPAA violation. That's great. Well, Bug, you better thank Marcus for helping.
Mama, baby. Yeah, he's a sweet girl.
All right. There we go.
You feel heavy tonight, Mama. Doesn't she, Daddy? She would sit like this
QBU.
all day.
So how many of you are Eli Holstein fans? Where are my Eli Holstein fans?
I just put your fries and your vegetables in the oven.
Oh, we're doing fries and veggies? No. with the salmon.
You go out. You go, TT. Here we go. We're about to get a booger shake. They can probably hear it.
Bruce, Eli Holstein throwing to Chris
Wow.
Hilton. What's up with that? Who would be fired up with that connection?
Come on.
That's wild, though, because the story's going to be from now until the end of time. Oh, it's going to be the Arch Manning. What about Arch Manning? What about him? The thing, and it's just true. If Garrett, Nussmeier, or Walker Howard are still starting, okay, and you have all these other great quarterbacks in the state of Louisiana, and you have Eli Holstein, and you have all these guys, right? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I honestly just sip it throughout the course of an episode. I do. Yeah, we got a lot of changes coming up in our little livelihoods. 337 Bo, I agree with you. It's hard to trust anyone in that Myles regime. That just lets you know. I mean, freaking Ensminger was a tight ends coach. Imagine Nuss, Walker, and Manning in the same. Yeah, we're talking about the junior class, rising high school juniors. You know what, Branson Cat, I get that question a lot. And the thing is I don't even speak into existence where someone from LSU might transfer. Because number one is I hope no Tigers ever transfer. I really don't. Sometimes it's good to transfer. But if I was TJ Finley, or if I was Max Johnson, for instance, let's say TJ beats out Max Johnson, you have to remember last year did not count against your eligibility. Okay? So technically, this upcoming season is, in theory, their redshirt freshman season. In theory. Okay? So there really is no pressure to be the starter like there would be other seasons. And for both of their sakes, is they both put on film some decent film. So there would be a pretty hot market for them, especially considering so many quarterbacks have hit a different gear when they go to their second school of their transfer. I mean, we could go down the list. So, I think both of them feel like they're in a good spot right now. Last year didn't count, and they got playing time as a true freshman at a Power 5 school. I would be freaking ecstatic. And look, it might work out for Max, TJ, or Myles. So, if I was TJ or Max, I wouldn't even be thinking about transferring at all. Last year didn't count. This is – so, in other words, they have a head start. They really do. That's right, Branson Cat. So you know him from Ponchatoula. That's right. You said you were Jacoby Matthews' teammate. And, yeah, I hope TJ stays. I really do think he's good. I do. Now, is he, special? Not many quarterbacks are special. So, we'll see. I really do. I hope TJ really blows up. I really do. But, yeah, look, if you were to ask me who is a one quarterback that is going to be a bona fide stud at LSU, bona fide stud, it's Walker Howard. Walker Howard. Walker Howard. Josh, you missed her. That's the thing. A bug is a one trick. I know, Juwan. You're right, Chewy. And that's the thing, Here's something you got to understand about LSU. All right. And this isn't going to sound right, but this is as truthful as that possibly could be. If it is proven that a guy like Les Myles, knowing how toxic of a man that he was, and knowing how much ineptitude that we actually saw on the football field, we're not talking about his off-the-field misdeeds, okay, which were awful, and he thought he was untouchable. That guy, okay, look, you don't have to go long and hard and wide. Even before the really bad stuff came out about Les Myles, you had some of his former players badmouth him publicly, strategically and as a person. That lets you know how powerful LSU is. Okay? It doesn't need any coach. It doesn't need any mastermind coach to win a national championship. LSU won 3 different national championships with 3 different coaches since 2003. Since 2003. Okay, how many programs have even won 1 national championship? Not many. How many of them have won 2? LSU, Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama, Florida, since 2003. Okay? Now, how many of them have won 3? Okay? Alabama, Clemson, LSU. But how many of them have won it with multiple coaches? LSU. How many have won 3 national championships with 3 different coaches? Since 2003. That's what I always say. Okay? No one player or coach or thing or idea is bigger than LSU. Never has been, never will be. Okay? Now, there are certain people that can transcend your program, that can take your program to new heights. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. You could list any great. Jarvis Landry, Glenn Dorsey. I mean, tons of great players have run through those doors. And you need those great players to win a national championship. But if you don't do the right things off the field, if you're not a good person, nobody is worth anything that they may or may not do off the field. LSU is a beast in and of itself. It's the bottom line. Josh super chats and says, I'm glad we are not talking about Eric Gilbert, which will only lead to people talking about Eric Gilbert. I'm kidding. We have not talked about Eric Gilbert. What was it? Rai in Canada. He's not here tonight because he's working. Rai said next Saturday we're going to do a drinking game where if someone mentions Eric Gilbert, you got to drink. So, it's the bottom line. I mean, think about it. What is Clemson without Dabo Swinney? Well, they're nothing. They are nothing. 3 different coaches. 3 different coaches. 3 completely different coaching styles. 3 completely different personalities. Let it sink. Let that sink in. What's up, Whitetail? Jared, you're right. Of course, there's going to be attrition. Clothes are done. Was the laundry really that distracting? Look.
Did you hear it rain?
No, did it rain?
Yeah.
Everybody was commenting how happy our laundry's done.
Oh, did they hear the noise?
They were like, Our laundry, you got to admit, our laundry room has a great jingle.
It will be different soon.
Da 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 da. Jake Johnson, yeah.
Hi, baby.
Every time I think Jake Johnson, I think Jack Johnson, and then I think about banana pancakes. Now that's a deep cut, okay? Make 'em banana pancakes. Jack Johnson, underrated. All righty. So always keep that in mind. Always keep that in mind, right? So you hear so-and-so did this off the field and LSU covered it up. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Okay? Not only is it morally not worth it, it's in practicality not worth it. So it's just all there is to it. It's right in front of us. Trey, we'll see you, man. Jack Johnson was also a famous boxer. Can't you see that it's just raining? Ain't no need to go outside. So maybe. There ain't no need to go outside. So maybe. Michael, don't get me fired up. Okay. So, Michael, I know you're just joining, but I was sharing this earlier. Like, I have so many sports passions outside of LSU football. Sports is all I think about. Like, I could do a whole channel on sports cards, sports memorabilia, everything sports related, and also everything comedy related. But, look, I heard Colin talking about it earlier. I'm a big Colin Cowherd guy. And then there was the Sports Illustrated clip where the analyst said Zion played in the East and she thinks he needs to lose weight and all these different. It's the same way I feel about Giannis. Let him be. If they want to play where they play, let them be. Okay? Who cares what the national media thinks? Look, you're listening to a very niche channel. It's LSU football all the time. So I'm not a national media member. I would like to. One of my dreams is to be a national host, to be Dan Patrick or Scott Van Pelt or anything like that. Stuart Scott was my dream growing up. But, I don't understand why it's just so necessary to force Zion out. What the hell? I mean, can the young man breathe? I don't even think Zion has been allowed to exist just like a regular human. I really don't think so. And some people, it's like that. All right. So I'm done talking about Zion. I'm obviously very passionate about it because I'm a huge Pelicans fan, but it is what it is. A cow turd. Yeah, Tyler. I mean, it's just weird. It's so weird because a lot of people have stories like that. I didn't hear that Kun Aguero news leaving Man City at the end of the season. That is interesting. When you'll make it big, I'll be your driver. Hey, I like that, Leonard. I'm gonna need that. Look, doing national sports shows, national comedy shows. I hadn't been on stage though. God, I would be so bad. I don't even know if I could do 5 minutes right now on stage. Brant said I do. I don't know a whole lot about UFC, but I did watch the fight. Uh, I was kind of pulling for Stipe because the Joe Burrow connection and Burrow was at the fight. Um, but if you're not a Francis Ngannou fan, especially knowing his story, the guy has like the coolest story out of any athlete like ever. So, I'm happy. I'm happy for Francis Ngannou, and I'm glad he got his opportunity. It's kind of crazy though when you think, UFC is like the most gladiatorial sport, right? And Stipe was in there fighting a fighter in his prime, and Stipe was 38 years of age. 38. Could you imagine being 38 years of age and your whole life you got to stay in that type of shape, and then to have the mentality? Because look, I think in the NBA, there's a lot of players in the NBA and in the NFL who don't actually want to be there. They don't actually love their sport. I just think UFC is one of those sports where you can't be like that. You got to really want to be in the ring. And, I kind of felt bad for Stipe. He's 38 years of age fighting that monster. That he had no shot. He had no shot. I'm obviously excited about McGregor Poirier 3. I hope Dustin destroys him. Obviously, I know this is a big Dustin. If y'all are UFC fans, I'm guessing you're a huge Dustin Poirier fan. Esteban says, random question. With the COVID rule, are the sophomores eligible for the draft? Yeah, so I think Esteban, I'm guessing this is the way it is. After 3 years, you can go whenever, whether or not a year of eligibility counts or not. So if you played 3 years of college football or you're 3 years removed from your high school, you can move on. Esteban, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you, man. Yeah, I'm a huge Dustin fan, and it's kind of hard to not hate that guy. It's even if you're not Louisiana. So obviously, I was a huge fan of anything Louisiana, especially getting into the sport. So I was a fan of Cormier and all those guys. Never really was I never really was a big Ronda Rousey fan. I never really was a big John Jones fan. The big guys, the George St. Pierre's, I wasn't ever a huge fan of those guys. I was more of a fan of like the middle tier guys. I was a huge Robbie Lawler fan. I freaking love that guy. I like Lawler. Who are some other ones? So I'm not smart enough to talk UFC though. I'm just not. This is just pure fan perspective. I couldn't tell you anything outside of just that. Let's see. Yeah, Tyler, I'm a big Saints fan, but if this makes sense, I'm a big Saints fan, but they're not in my top 3 fandoms. Obviously, LSU football is by far the number 1. And then after that, I would say the Pelicans number 2, and then Liverpool Football Club number 3, and then the Saints probably number 4. Now, I'm a big Saints fan. Don't get it wrong. But, I actually cheer a lot for the former LSU guys. So I'm also pro LSU when they become actual pros, which is, why I'm excited about the pro day tomorrow. I'm very pro LSU. So like Jamar's pro day is a big deal to me. I hope he does well, and I hope he teams up with Joe Burrow, which, a lot of you would become Bengals fans because that is just too much nostalgia to not soak in, to not be a Bengals fan. Let's see. So that's about, hopefully that answers your question. So if you have 3 years of eligibility, you can go to the NFL. What's going to be interesting, if you are a March Madness fan, is that the basketball year this year didn't count against your eligibility. So even with that said, LSU's losing all their best players. Even though I'm not a big Cam Thomas guy at the NBA level. I think Cam Thomas needs to come back for another season. Jared was like, Man City? What is a Man City? Jared's like, Man City? That doesn't sound like a fun thing. A Man City. It's a Man City. If you want to be a soccer fan, you want to be a Liverpool fan. Go Reds. LSU basketball, USA Jaguars. Tyler says, ever thought about doing a second channel just kind of talking about your other favorite Louisiana teams? So I get this question a lot too. Do you do some other YouTube stuff? So, by the way, we're about to have to wrap this up because we got some salmon that we got to eat. To answer that question, though, Tyler, is number one, there is so much work that goes into doing one YouTube channel, especially when you are the sole proprietor. I tried to use like a fancy word. Sole proprietor. Especially when you're the sole creator of a channel. So everything that you see is what I produced. Okay, everything edited and all that stuff. So it's hard, and I don't like just doing hack videos. I want every one of my videos to make you think differently. So I don't just want to do a video where you just get the news. So, there's a process. So you come up with the topic, all right? Then you got to look at the analytics. Then you got to make sure there's no cursing or anything like that in it. Then you got to make it compelling. There are people going to actually watch it. Then you got to make the thumbnail. Then you got to write all the descriptions and all of that. It takes a while. There's so much that goes into it. And then on top of that, you actually got to produce the content. So, there's so much dirty work that goes into it. Sometimes I'll shoot a video and I don't even feel like editing it. I just feel like just let them take it. Cam not ready? Cam Lewis? Cam Newton? Cam Wire? So, yeah, I do have other LSU content posted on various channels. If you want to see, like, old student me. But, yeah, not really. I will eventually make a national sports channel. I will probably eventually do some sports card stuff. But the number one thing is I got to make sure this LSU channel, because it is the number one thing I'm passionate about, this team and winning championships and, making compelling arguments and content. It takes up a lot of time. And, of course, I got to make this, I got to make it profitable too. So, it is what it is. Trust me, all these guys you see doing good LSU stuff, there's a lot of work. University of South Alabama, 2 of my kids graduated there. My wife works there. Cool. Jared, that's a great super chat. I appreciate you. Chewy says the podcast. Oh, so that was Chat Sports. Shout out to Yoder. Love me some Chat Sports. Miss those guys. Well, actually, I still talk to Yoder. Good dude. Wait, who'd you grow up with, Christian Butte? Who did he say he grew up with? You grew up with Dustin? That's really cool. Poirier's one of those athletes that I would like to meet. I just feel like he'd be really cool. Where will Jabril Cox get drafted? Well, a lot depends on his 40. You know, if you're a sideline to sideline linebacker, people want to see that 40-yard dash. All righty. Nick says day 2. That's pretty good. So for those that don't know, day 2 means second or third round, which is pretty good. Can we get a room tour? Tyler, what is this? This isn't MTV Cribs meets OnlyFans. What are you talking about? I mean, Tyler, what do you want? You flexing with the front load washer and dryer back there? Yeah, there's nothing really to flex. I either do a video here or do a video in the other room with my Joe Burrow baubles in the background. And if you go look at the last live stream, you could see our couch. Chase and Marshall are the only two right now doing in the first round. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I would. Just kind of winding down here. Jared, the worst thing you could do to a comedian is say, tell us a joke. That is a word. It's the worst thing. Don't, and this is just a good word to actual comedians. Okay. I'm not an actual comedian. Okay. It's not my full-time job. All right. Am I a comedian? Yes. If I got booked to do a gig for the right price, I'd go do it. But don't ever go up to any comedian. Doesn't matter how big they are. Doesn't matter how small they are. Don't ever go up to them and say, tell us a joke. Because every single response is, well, what's your job? Oh, you're an electrician? Okay, go fix a light bulb for me. It's essentially the same thing. Who takes over at center next season? Liam. I know, Jared. I figured you were, but it's just it's if you knew how many times I've been stopped and said, tell us a joke. If you're really funny, tell us a joke. Or if you invite someone to a show, tell us a joke right now. And when I first started, I'd be so desperate to get people to shows, I would do it. But yeah, that was more of a PSA to everyone. Don't do it. It's just number one, it's more than likely whatever joke they're going to say, it's not going to be funny. Kirk says 2 tight ends walk into a bar. So you are funny. Who's the next center? Charles Turner, probably. Ed Orgeron said Charles Turner is having a good offseason. Here's a joke. Tyler, it's kind of funny. Well, all right, guys. This was a fun live stream. Once again, as always, this is a last call for super chats or questions. Okay? Any LSU-related question, let me know. Any super chat you want to get in? Because as Haley always says, if we keep getting super chats, you stay on that live stream. Xavier Hill, potential, yeah. Who do you think our running back will be? Good question. I would. My best guess would be John Emery. Will get the first shot. We'll see. We'll see what happens. My ears hurt after 2 hours. This Eric Gilbert joke is getting better. All right. Any more questions? Tight end walks into prison, becomes a wide receiver. That's actually a good joke, Eric. It makes sense. It makes sense. I don't know if you Googled that, but that's good, Eric. That's I might pull a Drake and hire you to be my ghostwriter. All right. Doesn't look like any more super chats or questions are coming in. I'm going to go enjoy a nice flush piece of salmon. And we'll have a video for you tomorrow at 5:15. Don't forget, next live stream will be Saturday night, 7 p.m. Central. As always, go Tigers, go. All right? It is Power Hour. LSU, boo! Linebacker depth rotation for next season. I'll answer that really quickly, John. I think Mike Jones will be a starter. I think the other starter will be Micah Baskerville. And then Damon Clark will hopefully get a shot. Carvis, you would come in like right when we're signing off. Devonta Lee, the fifth skill guy. Look, if he can, hammer down the wide receiver position, potentially and move back to tight end, it could definitely happen. All right, guys. We'll see you. Carvis, good luck with that PhD stuff, man. For real.